Ladies and gentlemen, we are here at the first episode of the Elevation Podcast in 2020. We are here about to get this thing going. I want to thank everybody who has been supporting us through 2019. We just started at the end of 2019, and it's been such a success. And sometimes you just don't understand how many people support you until they start watching your stuff. And it's super duper cool. So I want to thank everybody for just being a part of this growth that's happening, just being a part of everything we're doing here. I just really, I can't say it enough. I cannot thank everyone enough just for being a part of this. It's going to be really, really cool today. First episode of 2020, and my man has come to hang out with me for a little bit. He's going to come up here in a second. And I just want to tell you, man, it's going to be super cool today. We're going to have a whole lot of conversations. We're going to talk about a whole lot of stuff. He's probably going to have a whole lot of jokes and stuff. I can already tell what's about to happen. It's cool. I got to sit with him on his radio show that he had about, a long time ago. And he used to just, it's super cool, man, how he used to do stuff. And we got some really cool things that we're going to do together in the future. And I'm just hoping that there's a lot of stuff that I'm just hoping that to see. A lot of good things going to come from this dude. But stay right there. Hang out for a second. We're going to be right back. This is the Elevation Podcast. My name is Riff-Raff. We're going to get this thing going. Let's go. Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Elevation Podcast. My name is Shawn Riff-Raff, right here on www.ShawnRiffRaff.com. We on Facebook, we on YouTube, we on everything. And I'm sitting here with my homeboy, my man. He has come to hang out with me just for a little while. My man, Sean Sarvis. What's up, brother?
What's happening, dudes and dudettes, cats and kitties? What's going on?
Man, I'm super duper, when I say I'm excited about having you here, I'm super duper excited because me and you have a history that is super long. I don't even remember when I met you. I don't even remember when I met you. I know it was a long time ago. I do know it was a long time ago.
Yeah. But we do. We have crossed paths so many times.
Yeah, I know.
We worked on each other's projects.
Yes.
Each other's shows. If you was doing the show, I was on it. If I was on the show, you was on it.
Absolutely.
Major projects. Little tiny projects.
Yep.
But I'm honored to be here, though.
Yeah,
I'm really
man.
honored to
Thank
be
you,
here.
man. We've little shows.
Yeah. And we had a lot of them.
A lot of them.
We had. I think I had a show with like 3 people there.
Yep.
Yeah. But
I've had my share of them.
but the whole production, the DJ, the lights. I had more comedians than I had people in the audience. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Man, it's such a wild time to think back on it. It also is a wild time to think how long ago it was.
Yeah.
It's like a minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, let's start here. I want to start here. I want to talk about you for a second.
Okay.
I always talk about everybody, and I always put you on the spot because it's like most public figure as we are. We hate talking about ourselves, but I want to go back to your past.
Okay.
Where you've been in Christian comedy for as long as I've known you, but that means you haven't been in Christian comedy forever because I ain't known you forever.
Yeah.
Where did you come from?
Come from, of course, Washington D.C. and then me and my mother, we moved to Glass Manor. A section of Oxon Hill.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah,
Praise
absolutely.
the Lord.
Absolutely.
For those who don't live in D.C., Glass Manor is Glass Manor Baptist. It's a church.
Yeah. So moved to Glass Manor, and so then we got a little bit of money. We moved on up.
Okay.
So we moved to Temple Hills.
Okay.
How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Temple Hills. And then we spent like about 7-8 years there, and then graduated. And so I've been in the Washington area ever since.
Right.
But started doing comedy at Bowie State.
Okay.
And so I was in front of the student activity center one day,
Okay.
and the SGA president said, "Man, you funny." I was out there making everybody laugh, so he said, "Man, you funny." He said, "I want to put you on this show that I'm doing." So the first thing I thought is being negative, like, "Man, I ain't doing no show. I ain't getting booed, right?" So he said, "No, I believe you're funny, man. Let me tell you, dude. The show was like on Wednesday. I was shaking in my boots on Sunday, you know. So went and did the show, and I was funny. I was a big hit. I had like about 3 minutes of material, and then the other 7 minutes I joned, you know. So I really did good. And then the thing about it is, you know, I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I don't do. And like I learned that night that my high came from coming off stage and making people laugh.
Right.
You know. So I remember that night as I laid in the bed, I envisioned everything that is happening now. You know, I envisioned me doing shows and being on stage and meeting people and all that other stuff. So did secular comedy. Did secular comedy was pretty successful at secular comedy. Did BET's Common View 6 times. Showtime at the Apollo. I didn't do Def Jam.
Okay.
So, but did all the little shows and everything. Won Comedian of the Year in 1996. So that lets you know how long I've been doing comedy.
Wow.
You know, and so
you've been doing comedy longer than I've been rapping. I just want you to
yeah,
know
absolutely, absolutely, secular comedy. And so about 2003, I was 2002. I was on the brink. No, 2002. Yeah, I was on the brink of being a father. So I was like, you know, I just gave it up. You know, and started cold turkey. And so I started doing, Christian comedy or faith-based comedy. And so that's where you have it.
So like, what year was that? You said 2003?
2000 and I think it was 2002.
2002. Well, what's the transition like to come from being
Ooh, the transition was, okay, I already had the name. So people wouldn't allow me to come to their church because they were scared I was going to cuss. Even my friends that was like pastors, so they're like, "Oh, you funny, but you can't come to my church. I'm sorry, you can't come to my church." And so I had to prove myself. Not only that, but it was a financial sin of it because I went to the comedy clubs every week. It's no Christian comedy clubs. So you had to wait for the call. You had to wait, for the churches to call you, or a church, company or whatever to call you. And so what I did was, if the club called me, I would go back into the club.
right?
And so I would go back into the club and do my thing. And so I had to be honest with you. I was bombing. Because I was trying to do my church act into the club act.
Nah, I hear that.
Yeah, and so people's like, nah. So I said, man, one night I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna be the old Sean Sarvis again. So I went and was the old Sean Sarvis, and this one lady saw me. Man, you should have seen it. At the end of my show, I was coming up and shaking hands. You would thought I was running for office, right? I was shaking hands. I was kissing babies, everything. And then she came up. She said, "You know what? Not only I'm embarrassed, but you embarrassed my church. You embarrassed my and embarrassed me. She seen me that week before, so she said she told her sister and her brother-in-law that when she saw my name on the marquee, she said, "Oh, this young man know how to do comedy." And then the first thing I came out is, "What's up, mother?" And that was it, But I had them laughing, But, so ever since then, I've been on the up and up. I've been on the up and up.
Right. That's crazy. That's crazy how there's this balance between being a Christian doing something and then being a professional doing something. And I think that I struggle with that. I didn't quite struggle with as far as you, like going back and saying I'm of course, first of all, I didn't have a back to go to.
Okay.
I didn't start secular, but
okay.
So let's just be honest here.
Yeah.
But there was a point where I was like, man, because I wanted to do it as a career, and it was very difficult to do, Christian, pretty much Christian anything as a career, and it's very frustrating. Then you get the feeling like, man, I might as well just do a secular. And that's a hard place to be in. Where you at now? So what do you I know that you've done so much stuff over the. I remember specifically one of the things that stick out in my mind is the block party.
Yeah.
And, you had a pilot show that you was producing with all of the Christian comedians.
Yeah.
And I remember that, so vividly. Tell me about some stuff that some memorable things that just, like memorable things that happened, in your time doing this.
Well, speaking of the block party was a great project. I mean, it was a great project. But if you don't know what it was, back in 2010, I decided, actually a BT executive came up to me and asked me, why isn't not any Christian comedy shows on TV? And I said, I don't know. They said, because you didn't create one. So we need you to create one. So I said, okay. So put $20,000 in the show. And it was me, Marcus Wiley, Small Fire, Joe Recker, Mike Washington, Rod Z, Chocolate, and I think that's it. I think that's it. Mike Washington, Rod Z, and Marcus Wiley. I said Marcus. Okay, Marcus Wiley, whatever. So it was like 7 Christian comedians on this thing, and so we shot a pilot and everything, and it was packed. I mean,
it was packed.
You was my DJ.
I remember. I was there.
You was my DJ.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you one thing. I knew nothing about DJing.
Really?
Nah, I can pretend real. But what's crazy is that I was working at the time allowed me to borrow the DJ stuff.
Right.
All of that. So I was like, listen, man, I need to.
I did not, man. You telling me this 2 years ago?
How hard was it to play a record, man? Like and it was all my stuff because you couldn't do unlicensed.
Yeah.
You couldn't do licensed stuff.
But that was the beauty of it because you had a catalog of songs.
Yeah.
So
and artists that I work with.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was all Christian, and so I was like, okay. But I you know what? But actually, I think I knew. I guess somewhere I knew that. But at the same time.
I couldn't tell when I was there.
Yeah.
I borrowed the stuff. Like I borrowed it from my job because I worked at a music store at the time. I borrowed it from my job.
Okay.
And then I was up all night. Like, okay, we're gonna put this behind this one.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it like this. Okay. I got this.
I had a banner that said Riff-Raff, DJ Riff-Raff.
I was DJ Riff-Raff that day.
And all that. That's cool, man. But yeah, so Tanya Blunt. And Willie Blunt was the singers on the show, and King Solomon. So it was a great event. So, but what ended up happening, I never discussed this with you.
Oh, right.
What ended up happening is, for the first show, everything was great. But what happened was somebody moved the levels up, the sound levels
up.
I
remember that.
And it came out staticky. Okay, so. What I understand now, I didn't understand. I just was shooting a pilot for a television show. What they wanted to do, they wanted to use that. They wanted to pay me like $100,000 and use that pilot to actually go on BET. Right. Well, with the levels moved up and the sound quality was bad.
It was terrible.
Yeah. So Matt Anderson, good friend of mine, he
gonna be here on Tuesday.
On Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
So he he fixed it. He smoothed out, but it was not television quality.
Right. It wasn't good enough.
And so I thought BET wanted a pilot so they could dump their money
see whether you could do it.
Exactly. But at the same time, they wanted to use it.
They wanted you to dump your money in there.
Exactly.
And if it was good enough, they was going to pay you back.
Exactly.
And if it wasn't good enough, you were just going to be short.
And that's what happened. I was short. So, but
it was fun though.
But it was worth it. It was a monumental event. And can you believe it was 10 years ago?
I cannot believe it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was 10 years ago. So from there, I just doing a lot of stuff. I'm putting on a lot of shows. I do I stopped doing comedy shows. I just perform wherever somebody has me.
Right.
But I would do something seasonal. Like once every 4 months or whatever, which actually I'm gonna get back around to.
Right.
But because actually with me performing on somebody else's stuff is always easier,
Right.
So I just did something at the Rams Head though.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I
Right.
did something at the Rams Head, but it's easier when somebody called me up like, how much, when, where, and that's it. I'm like, okay, I'll be there.
Right,
So,
right. What's the life of a Christian? What's the life of a Christian? What's the life of Sean Sarvis?
The life it's
Like-
pretty simple.
like-
It's pretty simple. First I'm a man of God. Well, first I'm a father. How about that? First
Yeah.
I'm a father. I have twin daughters, and
Oh, that's fun. How are they?
18.
Okay, yeah, that's
So they practically out the house. They gone. They practically out the house.
that's what you think.
Yeah, exactly.
I
And then
got
I have a 10-year-old, so she's pretty funny. So I get her together, make breakfast for her, send her to school. She come home from school, help her with her homework. So I'm pretty much a dad,
Right.
And then on the weekend, like while she's at school, I handle my business. I go to meetings and conference calls, and I do contracts and everything. I don't have a manager. I have 4 booking agents that find me work.
Right.
So but go to meetings and do conference calls and little stuff like that. And then on the weekends I do my shows.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah, man. All right. So, where are most of your shows at? So, like, what does your show consist of? Like, where are you normally? I know you said you were at Rams here. Is that something normal for you, or that is
Well, I do a special show on my birthday.
Oh, okay.
Usually I on the second week of January we do this tour.
Right.
And I set up and it's like tours up and down the East Coast, like Delaware and Williamsburg and of course DC or whatever. But this year I didn't get enough steam on it. Usually I have Marcus Wiley or
Right.
Small Fire or
Right.
whatever. But like the church is like, you giving us the same old show all the time. Every year you give us the same old show. So I try to break it up. Let me tell you something. I learned my lesson. If Marcus and Small Fire are watching, they are the elite, and then it just drops off. They are the elite, and it just drops off. Which actually, the other comics are funny. Don't get me wrong, but the thing about Christian comedy, they want names. First, like about 10, 15 years ago, you could just put Christian comedy on the show and people would come out. After a while, they're like, "Nah, baby, we want some names, baby. We want some."
It's not any like new comedians coming up. Like, is it like
They're coming up and they're
coming.
funny and they're up and coming, but they're not unproven.
Right.
So like, okay, well, I take that back. Country Wayne is not a Christian comedian, but he's clean.
I never seen his, like, I only see him online, so I never see his stuff.
Yeah, he's hilarious. He's funny.
I know he's hilarious. I seen, like, I follow him on Instagram.
Yeah,
So I always see his Instagram stuff. I never see his stuff. Though.
Yeah, he's funny, but it's like, okay, but then he's like more mainstream.
Right.
He does like some cuss words, but not too much.
What about your Kev on stage?
Kevin on stage, I have not. I have not seen him in the show, and I hope I'm wrong before I say this. But
You gonna say something that you hope is wrong?
yeah, I hope it's wrong. But I heard that he's like basically a motivational speaker.
Really?
Yeah. See the thing.
I have this one thing that I got Kev on stage did, and I always repeat it. Like because he went to shoot Texas Roadhouse. And it was like he didn't know that the bread was like soft and buttery, and so the joke was hilarious to me. He said like, but at a show, I've never seen the show. I'm 48 years old. I just turned 48 yesterday. Okay. Let me break this social Happy
media.
birthday, by the way.
Thank you so much. Let me break the social media thing down for you.
Break it down, please.
A lot of comics that are coming up, they use social media. So social media, they're funny for like 5 to 10 minutes, okay, and then they go viral
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so when they go viral and they got 5 to 10 minutes, okay, of course the comedy club comes calling them because they don't care how many people you have in the seats. They just, no, I'm sorry, they don't care how funny you are. They just care how many people you got in the seats.
Right.
Right. So somebody that doesn't have an act, somebody just has 5 to 10, maybe 15 minutes or 20 minutes of material, funny material, they'll put them on.
Right.
And so they keep being funny, but like stand up is a hard. It's the bottom of the entertainment pole, but it's so hard.
Why do you say it's the bottom?
Because
Like,
anybody can get in it. Anybody can get in
don't
it.
you gotta be funny?
You got to be funny, but like hey, a lot of times people don't find out that you're not funny till like 4, 5, 6 months, and you're like, hey, But at the same time, it's the bottom of the chain. Now you could be successful, you can make a lot of money in doing this, but at the same time, and when I say you can make a lot of money doing this, I'm talking about mainstream comedy, not Christian comedy.
Right, gotcha,
Okay.
gotcha.
But they'll get on camera, they'll be funny about 5 or 10 minutes, and then they'll go and they'll develop the act. Now I tell you what, Country Wayne actually developed his act. He has a craft. He made it his craft, and so he's very, very good at it. But that's like 1 out of 100.
Right.
So like me being 48 years old, I don't want to walk around with a camera. I don't want. I'm serious. I don't want to walk around with a camera. I don't want to say, "Hey, I'm in the bathroom now. Hey, I'm in the kitchen now. Hey, I'm in the parking lot now. Hey, I'm in the car." I don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? Certain things I think is worth videotaping. I'll do. I might go months without doing a video, or weeks without doing a video, but that's it. But at the same time, doing a video is better than TV because if I get like 40 to 50,000 views on a video, that's better than TV.
That's what it is now.
Yeah. So
that's just the way it is. Now you gotta look at it as your show. It's just kind of crazy.
So like at the same time, at this stage of my career, I'm thinking about gimmicks, but then at the same time I'm not, because I gotta walk around with this camera, it seems, I explained it dumb, but it's very profitable,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So you don't know, like, so if you're putting together, what's the dream show right now? If you got what's the Christian comedy dream? Like if I got a pastor watching my podcast, right, or listen to my podcast, right, DMV, and he's like, I'm trying to put together the dream Christian comedy show.
Oh, wow.
Like I'm trying to put together the whole the Christian comedy show for the the 2020. What is the dream show?
Akintunde, Marcus Wiley, Small Fire, and Sean Sarvis. That's it.
You gotta say it again.
Akintunde, Marcus D. Wiley, Small Fire, and Sean Sarvis. They would come with the thunder.
Ain't no females out here.
Small Fire.
Small Fire is female.
Yeah, Small Fire. Or Chocolate, Akintunde, Small Fire, Chocolate, Marcus Wiley, and me.
That's what's up.
That's what's up.
That's what's up. So when we putting this show on?
We're putting it on something, but actually, if it's a show, we can't have all of them on the same show. We got to break it down, But yeah, absolutely. They will come with the thunder.
What's your you still go over to
Ebenezer
AME?
Sure, we can say that.
Maybe I should skip this question and go.
No. We can say that.
What's your level of what's your level of like activity? Like how does Christian comedy become ministry?
Well, it really cannot be, and reason why I say that is because there's money involved. Yes, it's ministry costs money. We do understand that, but on a daily basis at a church, no. Now people have asked me to do a workshop to teach people how to be funny. You got to be born with it, I think.
You got to be born with funny.
Yeah, I think that you have, and I think that you have to be. It's something that you can be very, very good at. Very good. You could be awesome at, but you can't master.
Without just the natural funny.
Right. You
I
know.
don't know. I don't got no natural funny.
Right. I learned that.
I got natural sarcasm. I got natural business savvy. I got,
Right.
I don't have natural
Yeah.
funny. Like I'm not telling jokes.
It's
I'm too
hard
monotone.
because I saw Steve Harvey get booed on several occasions.
Yeah,
And
Steve
so,
Harvey told a story about how he got booed.
yeah, and so I was like, wow, because I thought like when you reach that pinnacle level, okay, your booing days are over. But you know, he ate it. You know, several times he ate it.
I've you know like I've heard them all. Jamie Foxx.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was watching Steve Harvey, and Steve Harvey was telling me how everybody got booed. It was like
Yeah.
Jamie Foxx. It was
DL.
DL Hughley got booed. Like they all got booed.
Yeah.
And but it didn't really matter. You know.
Yeah.
Do it matter if you get booed? It don't
No,
matter.
but you know what? It doesn't. As long as you don't make a career getting booed, you know. But yeah, I got booed last Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. No, as long as you don't get booed, making a career getting booed. But yeah, I mean, I've gotten booed. You know, when I first started. You know, now this is the thing. If I'm trying out new material, you know, people just look at me, just kind of.
They don't boo you in the church, do they?
The
The church will boo you?
I've never got booed at church, but
Saints.
But I seen
Oh, the
somebody.
Saints.
I seen. It's come very close. And then the brother broke out with praise and worship. I was like,
Oh,
good
my Lord.
move, good. Look. I gotta tell this story. This is so funny.
Oh, my
I was in
Lord.
Virginia Beach and I was doing a show, and so this comic went up before me, and so he started to tell his jokes, and it was not working. It was a packed house, and it was not working. And so I don't like to see other comics to get booed. Some comics, live for that. I don't like to see it.
Some comics live for being booed.
No, some comics love to see other comics get booed, but I don't.
That's the hater.
I don't like to. No, I don't like to see that. So what happened was I went to the bathroom to pray, right? So I came back out. They were screaming at the top of their lungs. They were screaming at the top of their lungs. So my friend went with me. I said, "Hey, what is he doing?" She was like, "Man, he went from telling jokes to praise and worship. He was laying hands on the pastors and the first lady and everything." And so he was preaching so hard that I didn't even go up that night. They was like, "We're just gonna give you a check and just go home. We having a revival up here." So yeah, so
That's wild.
mm-hmm.
So with where do you see, yourself, Christian comedy as a whole? Where do you see it going? Just well, let's start with yourself. Where do you see yourself going? Let's say this is 2020. By 2030, where do you see like Sean Sarvis and the brand and
Wow, 2030, man. Think about that.
we gotta think in decades.
Yeah. I mean, I just stepped into 2020. Wow.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
gotta
It's
think about the process in decades, baby.
Yeah. 20. Well, in the future, I just pray that is some comedy tours,
Sure.
Christian comedy tours. Right now, it's not any tours. It's just dates. And the problem is a lot of places that are not used to Christian comedy. I went to San Antonio, Texas. The people scared me when I got off the plane. They was like, "You're the first Christian comedian we ever had."
Wow.
We've never had Kurt Franklin. We never had a Tyler Perry play. And I'm like, "Well, what y'all want to do with me?" They saw one of my YouTubes,
Right.
and so they decided to have me. And so it was a mega church, but they had me at this small little church that sat 500 people. It was packed. A mixed crowd was packed, and so I ripped it up. So now they were introduced to Christian comedy. Went back and did the same thing.
It'd be like that sometimes when you go to cities that aren't. Sometimes when you go to cities that aren't major, like 'cause sometimes being in DC and being in Baltimore, like you kind of know, that people come here all the time.
Right.
But then you go to places that don't. they don't function like that. People don't be there like that. And
Yeah.
then they like you a celebrity when you get there.
Right. Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like,
Absolutely.
it happened like that. It's like that with Christian hip hop. You go somewhere like an off place, like Major's not going just because it's a tier 3 city. Like it's not something where you're gonna sell out big
Yeah.
big time, so the Majors don't go. But we used to go and used to be a huge thing.
Yeah.
It was just super cool. The internet kind of changed that a little bit.
Yeah, but even still, it's still like a lot of places that have not been. I mean, it's prominent here in the Washington D.C. area,
Sure.
Philadelphia, Atlanta, North Carolina, Durham, Charlotte. Columbia South. It's prominent,
Right.
But those other places, they got to get used to it. Like right now, I cannot. Like first, I was the only Christian comedian working. Now it's several shows.
Right.
And then look, at first I would have an attitude if I ain't on the show. How you can have me on the show, really? But at the same time, now you cannot have me on, and it's so prominent now. So,
Yeah.
but I think that the familiarity has to catch up with places. Then we can do tours,
Right.
and then we can do shows on major networks. That's the only reason why we're not on a major network right now,
What's that?
because it's not familiar with the rest of the United States.
Man, it's kind of it needs to be even familiar inside of where we at.
Mm-hmm.
So like we should have some Christian comedy programming like on some of the Christian networks out there. That would be great to have
Yeah.
Christian comedy on Christian networks. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like a lot of times, just like the world, I think we focus a lot, even in the Christian community, on what's profitable. Or, and we don't really take a chance on what could be profitable but hasn't been proven.
Right.
And so like even if you look at your TBNs or your CBNs or your your Angel Network or any of that stuff, it's like there haven't been a Christian comedy show on those networks. There's not a lot of different shows,
But
besides the ones that they know are proven over time, like like the pastors and the preaching and all that stuff, and it costs them a lot of money to get on the show.
Yeah.
And on the network anyway.
Yeah, but you know what? John Gray was a Christian comedian.
Really?
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah,
I didn't see
man.
his act.
Go look.
I've seen his preaching.
Yeah. Go look at his YouTubes. Go look at his YouTube. He was hilarious.
Really?
Oh my God.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know John Gray personally. Yeah, he was a Christian comedian, and I guess, well, not I guess, it just he had a bigger plan.
Evolved. Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's what happens. Like a lot of even in music, a lot of music artists evolve into
ministry.
Just evolve. Even lots of people just they pop up pastors, and it's kind of like a level. You go to the next level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
See, me, I'm too goofy to be a pastor. So, so they're like, you pastor? Yeah. Be leading a mega church. Yeah, right. Yeah. So.
And that's pretty. First, I want you to tell me. I ask everybody this, and it always becomes an interesting conversation. What's your idea of a perfect world, a perfect scenario? Like, what is one thing that we can do in the world to make the world like you think like this is that one thing that we need to fix in the world?
Equality. I think equality on every level. Is so much. I guess the main thing that we think about is black and white. But rich or poor.
Yeah.
So many level classes. Upper class, middle class. It's so many different levels that we can come. But I don't think it's impossible. But I think like the equality. I think if everything is fair, and then somebody told me that a fair is where you get cotton candy and rides, But at the same time, I think equality.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's all good.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the things, interesting that my phone is ringing. You know, one of the things I think that we miss out on a lot is being American.
Mm-hmm.
Being an American is an interesting thing. I think last week when everybody was thinking about going to war in Iran, and then Iran bombed a place in Iraq, and then we got this report that there were no Americans killed, and it was like, yo, seriously?
Mm-hmm.
Why does it matter that simply no Americans were killed? Like, if people were killed, why are, you know, like,
Right.
why do we have such why do we look at ourselves as so much better than everybody else? And it's not even that we actually looked at ourselves like that, even in the fact that we report it in that manner.
Right.
You know, like as if we don't feel bad that anybody else got killed in this debacle. You know, like, oh, but no Americans was killed. It's like, oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
okay. I think that there is a certain, you know, a certain teaching that we have to not, you know, that inequality is a certain teaching that we have that we kind of gotta fix, you know, just about who we are.
Right.
So all right, so there's one more, here's one more part. All right, every show I do something, you know, I do something a little different when you come onto the podcast, you know what I mean? Because, you know, it's how I am. Every show I do something a little bit different. Don't mind me. I'm just trying to make sure everything works.
Okay.
Every show I do something a little different. I try to, you know, just sort of bring something to the table.
Okay.
Make sure my homies don't come over and do my show and leave empty-handed, because that's whack.
Okay.
And hold up. Since we know it was your birthday yesterday, wow. You know what I mean? We went out. We did some things. We did things.
Oh wow.
We did things. You know. So if you didn't know, I've got this brand. You know that I promote.
Yeah, I was
Reese
looking at
Clothing.
that. Yeah.
We didn't know. Hold up, there's two things in there, brother. It's your birthday.
Oh, okay. It's two things.
Yeah, man.
Oh man. Oh man, I'm gonna rock this tomorrow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. My color too. Yeah, can I do the show next week? If I'm getting gifts.
What up, man? You know,
Oh wow.
we doing a couple things out here, man.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Man, it's just what I do. Like, you know, I want to make sure that nobody comes in and forgets that they did this.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it, man.
But, you know, I just wanted to make sure I, you know, gave you something that you know, everybody that comes on the show gets a little bit of something. Everything is different.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones you can't buy.
See, Keisha? See, I got gifts. That's my friend watching. Yeah, I got gifts. Absolutely. Thank you.
Man.
Appreciate
Listen,
it.
I appreciate you coming here. I know you got to run. You got things to do,
Yeah.
places to go, people
Yeah.
to see. But I want to say how much I appreciate you coming, and hope we can do this again. I know we got some stuff to be talking about, and I really want to. I'm really excited about, you know, what the possibilities of things may happen in the future.
Right.
And I just want to thank you a lot for coming on out, man. My man.
Man, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate the love.
Man, listen, this is the Elevation Podcast. My name is Shawn Riff-Raff. Catch the replay tomorrow on you know, everywhere the podcast be, you know, your iTunes, your Apple Podcasts, your Spotify's, whatever, wherever you guys listen to podcasts at. Or you can always go to ShawnRiffRaff.com to watch a replay of this video. Thank y'all very much. We'll catch you next time. Peace.